Happy Monday, guys, again. Today I'm going to talk about fat talk. Somebody addressed a really good question about what you do to stop the cycle of comments of people commenting on people's bodies. And what I mean by fat talk, I don't mean necessarily people talking fat other people, but one thing in our modern culture and a lot of westernized cultures, we put a lot of emphasis on weight loss is synonymous with success. And so when somebody loses a lot of weight, it's I know with me, like times when I've lost a lot of weight, people have come up to me and it's like people almost idolize you and you suddenly become a hero and oh my gosh, you look so good and how did you do it and you're my hero. That is fat talk. The fact that we have to congratulate somebody on weight loss or say, oh, that's so horrible when they gain a little bit of weight, that's fat talk. And it's also fat talk when we say to each other, like if I go up to say somebody and say, oh my gosh, my butt's so big, and of course that person's going to say, oh no, it's not. Well, if I were to say that to somebody, what I'm looking for, I'm not looking for them to agree with me, because if they agreed with me, then I'd probably be devastated. If I say that, then what I'm looking for is for somebody to disagree with me, which is what you're really doing, is looking for external validation for your internal security. You want somebody to, what you're really saying is, you want somebody to say that you're okay, that you're an okay person, and we project that onto our bodies. So I don't know how to fix it. It's a cultural issue, but I've been studying a lot into this issue. There's a good book called Survival of the Prettiest that talks about how in American Western culture we create our own rules of beauty, and there's rules around that, and there's another good article that I read recently on the culture of obesity and how obesity is really a created disease, because obesity is not synonymous for unhealthy. We've made it that way, and of course, there can be health consequences, but whether or not they're always related to obesity is questionable, because if somebody has a poor diet, whether they're thin or fat, that can have health consequences. Another really good read that I've been looking into lately, and in a weird way this has helped me with the fat talk issue. It's called In Defense of Food. It's by Michael Pollan. He also wrote a book called The Omnivore's Dilemma, but this book is just so interesting because it goes into nutritionalism and how our society has basically come up with this this pseudo religion of nutritionalism. So we've taken food and we've, instead of it being a part of our lives, a part of our experience and culture, because a lot of culture and cuisine is defined in the way that people eat in that culture. So instead we've taken that food and we've reduced it down to nutrients. So we identify food by the parts and not by the whole sum of the food. And when we do that, scientists will do studies on, like, tomatoes, for example, and the new oat brand. When oat brand came out as like the big thing, it was like suddenly everybody was marketing oat bran in their muffins and oat bran this, and so it seems like every couple of years we have a new oat brand. Right now it's omega 3s and 6s and lycopenes, and the funny thing is, like, at one time it was low fat and saturated fat, and the problem with that is suddenly we came up with all these trans fats, which were supposedly better than butter and the saturated fat. And now we're finding, because saturated fat was supposedly killing us all, and now we're finding that, oh no, that's not really true, because heart disease and obesity has actually gone up since we've introduced a low-fat diet into our as the norm. And in all actuality, there's no real evidence that avoiding saturated fat will reduce cholesterol in a lot of people. A lot of it is controlled by genes. There's some people that don't eat any cholesterol at all, but they produce a hyper amount of cholesterol because that's genetically that's what they do. And other people that can eat burgers and fries every day, they don't gain weight, they don't produce cholesterol. So what we've done with the diet and with body image is we have created really this pseudo-religion. We have this concept of good foods and bad foods, and and it changes all the time. And we have, and in a way, I mean, that benefits the food industry and the diet industry, because as soon as we come out with, okay, low fat, then suddenly we have all these books and advice and nutritionalists on low fat, and then suddenly we're finding, oh, low fat's not necessarily helping us. Let's go to low carbs. And so then we come out with new books and new products, and we revamp all the processed foods, which are really not necessarily real food, but food substances disguised as food, all the processed foods. And we do the same thing with our bodies. We, if you look at it that way, the way that we look at diet and food, and you realize that, hey, everything that science tells us is not necessarily nutritionally or even evidence-based. There's a lot of politics that goes into food marketing, and that plays into the diet industry as well, and in our appearance. And we are faced with so many ads about, if you look at a women's magazine, a majority of the ads will probably be something related to body or diet. And if you look at diet ads, the people that are in the diet ads aren't people that need to lose weight. They're generally already thin people, and they're saying, oh, I need to lose 10 pounds or something, So it's very, very distorted, and I think the only way we can combat this is to avoid fat talk ourselves. So, I really never, I made it a point to never congratulate somebody on their weight loss, because I feel like that's taking away from them as a person. The person should be valuable regardless of their weight. Their weight shouldn't play into that as a factor. So I'll find other traits to compliment them on, but I don't compliment people on their weight loss. I've made it a point for myself. I used to, in my eating disorder, really bad at the fat talk about myself and saying how fat I was. I've now changed that so I don't go around saying that to people, because it puts people in an unfair position of that they have to, it really sets them up. And it's uncomfortable for them too. So sometimes I may have feelings of areas of my body I don't like still. And it's hard to work through those moments, but you just have to start looking at your body as not an enemy, looking at food as not an enemy. And I really recommend reading this book, because it's really changed the way that I view and look at food and the food research that I've been doing, and realizing that food is not the main control issue. And if you look at the big picture, it really will help you to make peace with that. But also with body image, I just ran my 12th marathon on Saturday. I'm not perfectly thin, but how many really thin people can run 12 marathons? I box. I've started boxing. I have a lot of upper body strength. I have a lot of muscle tone in different areas of my body. So genetically, my belly, I've had 3 babies. My belly is not the tiniest belly, because I have a lot of overhang from babies. But But if I look at my mom, I'm shaped a lot like her, and she's really not overweight. But she is not shaped like a underweight model either. So not all of us are going to be shaped that way, and we have to start realizing that genetically we're different. So we're all going for an ideal that not all of us have the genetic capability to even meet. So just keep that in mind and have a good day.